Hey guys, it's CL, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I make brand new Critical Role recaps every Saturday at noon, and would be happy to have you join the party. If you haven't already, please go ahead and subscribe, and hit the Bertrand bell to be notified of featured videos. Now, without further ado, let's discuss the first episode of Exandria Unlimited, Calamity. No holding back. I have to say, I was a bit nervous when the show announced they'd be taking a month off for this mini project. I feel like the Bells Hells campaign has really hit its stride, and I'm excited to tune in every week. But, after watching this first episode, I'm not worried at all anymore. It was deep, funny, interesting, scary at points, and a peek into a moment in time I've always been curious about in the Exandria lore. The episode opens on a battlefield. Louise Carrazzo's character, Xerxes, the first knight of Avalir, an olive-skinned human paladin with an illustrious beard, watches as the crown city is in ruins. Blood dripping from his mouth, his vision hazy, Xerxes searches for something he knows, something he recognizes. There, in the center plaza, he finds it. A young boy, no older than 5, with a shock of red hair and a fishing pole. Ilias, his son, fishing in a dark abyss of stars. Confused as to what's happening, he speaks with his child, promising to protect him. But Ilias just smiles at his dad, saying he knows that his father will always be there for him, to keep him safe. The child catches something on his hook, and Xerxes watches in horror as the boy disappears into the pond, draconic words of Gordranus echoing into his ears. Then, a battle between gods begins. The plaza he's standing in is smashed by a giant red betrayer deity with horns, reaching out for Xerxes. In the palm of his hands, a spectral white tree, and his dead husband's visage appears, and Xerxes tries to reach out despite it being just a memory. Just then, the Dawn Father, golden, a face of blinding sun, steps on the betrayer's neck, and Xerxes shouts for the god to stop his attack. The Dawn Father vanishes, and Xerxes wakes up with a word of thanks from the horned god, stating that no one would normally do that for them. Xerxes is so interesting. He's a paladin with no devotion to a particular being. He has a best friend, Griffith, named Tempest, made of amethyst starlight, which I need immediately. What happened to his son Ilias? Later in the episode, the paladin reveals the last time he saw his child, he was 7. Now he's going on around 13. Was there a falling out? Or did he not trust himself with the care of his kid after his partner died? Who is the horned god? Is it Asmodeus? The opening is super haunting, and Travis makes a really funny joke about feeling like he's in the wrong class in high school. I had the same feeling. Brennan Lee Mulligan is not a DM I've had the pleasure of watching before, but he's incredibly enrapturing, and I loved his descriptors. Luckily, the episode gets a little bit more light as we meet each of the other 5 party members. Next we meet Sam's character, Loquacious Seeley, a changeling bard, very in the vein of Caesar, the announcer from Hunger Games. Quay, so as he's nicknamed, has pale veined skin and gold fancy clothes, the veining leaking like paint to alter and repaint his appearance. Loquacious works out of the Herald's Tome, a sort of broadcast network that does the city's version of Good Morning America. Next is Quay's ex-wife, Abria's character, Laren, a dark-skinned elf wizard who works to perfect the subterranean engine that keeps the city of Avalir afloat. Definitely a perfectionist, she looks flawless in her purple and gold robes that reflect the sun at all times. Laren is preparing for the replenishment. The replenishment is where the city comes to the ground and unloads its store of ether magic, allowing crops to boom and magical children to be born, fulfilling a promise to the druids of Exandria long ago. There's definitely a lot to unpack here. It doesn't feel too info-dumpy, which I really like, and it keeps a lot of questions posed. During her normal check of the batteries and everything, the elf gets news that the next celestial solstice is an apogee solstice, where the planes are very thin between their worlds, and that allows for some incredible feats of magic, So incredible that sometimes even the ley lines of the planet move. What do we think she's working on that would require that much magic? Is it something for her own personal gain? Is it to advance the city? Her last name is Abjura Sealy. She specializes in abjuration magic. I'm not saying she created it, but could she be one of the forefathers of what we come to know as the Abjuration School? Next we meet Lou's character, Nidus, a dark-skinned sorcerer-bard combo with long, gold-cuffed dreads. Nidus is a guild master of a place called the Golden Scythe, which is preparing for the replenishment by holding the Parade of Beasts. I think it's cool to be introduced to characters that are important in the city and their lines of work. With all 3 main campaigns in the first iteration of Exandria Unlimited, everyone was sort of a nobody at first. It's cool that Nidus is infamous enough to have a couple kids approach him and have the kahunas to ask him if he's a dragon, which is kind of true based on his sorcerer's bloodline. Next was Travis's character, Sarat, a dark-beaked Aarakocra rogue with white to brown feathers. Wielding a pair of hand axes, he guards the eyes of Avalir. Sarat begins searching through the objects of a missing person named Archmage Vespin Chloris of Vasselheim. If you don't recognize the name Chloris, we first heard it in Campaign 3, Episode 21, where Marisha, Travis, and Sam all freak out when they find a journal with Chloris's name on it, detailing that he's one of the villains from the Calamity. I'm not going to go too far into it because that does contain spoilers for Campaign 3, but it's really cool to see a connection that recently. With his keen eyes, the rogue manages to find a strange piece of probably gold, looking to be part of a bow of some sort, and decides to take his detective show on the road and ask around about the object. Sarat's accent is incredibly funny, and I would love to see a castle-esque dramedy where Loquacious is writing a book based on the bird person's investigations. Last but not least is Marisha's character, Paisha, an ivory-skinned elf with silvery hair, a sun fascinator, and elaborate robes entwined with broomstone and emerald and glints of shifting indigo and teal. Paisha is the granddaughter of Amir the Bold, a powerful wizard who raised the city of Avalir to the sky. She meets Eldamir the Wise outside the arches of the Septarian, 7 of the most powerful mages of the city. Eldamir the Wise wished to meet the girl, the keeper of scrolls of the library Incantatum, and congratulate her on her work there. Having one of his apprentices speak with her as the old man's a little feeble and not all there, Paisha learns that Velucia, the other apprentice, wants to retire, Paisha potentially up for a spot in the Ring of Gold. The apprentice also reveals some unsettling information. That Chloris of Vasselheim seems to have attempted the quote-unquote matron's ritual that brought the Raven Queen to her stature. Promising to seek more info, the perfect place to do it is at a party that Paisha's estate is holding to celebrate the upcoming replenishment. Loquacious brings an off-putting but hilarious date named Bolo, much to Laren's dismay, and Xerxes decides to entrust his friends about the strange dream he had. Nidus is able to reveal that Gordranus, the draconic he heard in his dream, meant gathering of shadows and was often used by dragons to describe something they fear. Paisha notices the wording is interesting, recalling in her vast knowledge the King of the Hells once using that descriptor when he had been sealed away during the schism, and that wherever they put him, he will be gathering his forces in shadow. Or something way more poetic that I butchered. I'm sorry, Brennan. Sarat also decides to confide in his friends, revealing the piece of bow found in Chloris's crime scene. Nidris, from his pirating days, is immediately able to discern it's made of extraplanar gold, and is a piece of a solar's bow, a high angel, meaning that whatever Chloris attempted, he wasn't alone in the room. A guest from Vasselheim is welcome in. Laren, completely distracted by the shiny gold piece that could potentially help in whatever she's cooking up, pockets it and requests a few of Nidus's weird scarecrow automatons come help her. Making the party more of a banger, Pervan Sol, champion of the Mother of Ravens, introduces himself and is quickly ridiculed, and I loved him. Later, when confiding in Loquacious and Xerxes, Pervan says he was given a vision of something moving across Exandria, even out of the god's view, and when he went to meet with Chloris to discuss it, the man was missing, and the Mother of Ravens believes Chloris did not try ascending, possibly something even worse. Inside, while Paisha is reading the minds of her guests for a plot point that is kind of random right now, basically she and her ring of friends tell people where to go for certain info or certain deeds or whatever, and they may have a leak when Nidus is visited earlier by some rando. But while she's looking for info, she hears the whisper of Gordranus from one of Nidus's weird scarecrow things and watches as it strangely collapses. Sarah quickly takes the body back to a hidden room to uncover its meaning, but notices he isn't alone. Swinging his pair of hand axes at the invisible figure, Sarah kills a shell of a man, scarred and sewn together, his eyes bright orange, bloodshot. It gives me total Gore the God Butcher vibes from the new Thor movie trailer, and Sarah hears a voice coming from behind him. Chloris, standing in the mirror, says, "Not even the Wild Mother can help you," before breaking the reflection. What did you guys think of the episode? It was so engaging and magic, and I really can't wait for next week. What do we think Laren's building? If the god in Xerxes' dream was really Asmodeus, was it a trick? Or is our view of the betrayer god askewed? What did Chloris do? Was it so that he could ascend as well? Or was he maybe summoning something worse? Like maybe he's trying to do the opposite of ascension and get a god to return from the plains potentially powerless. There was an angel potentially present. I have so many questions that I need answers to. Tell me the connections you've noticed in the comments below. Also, what do you think of the kind of sour response at the Raven Queen for ascending and leaving her kin behind? I find that dynamic super interesting that they had at the party, where they were almost like making fun of him, and they're like, "Tell the Raven Queen we said hi, we're still here." Give a round of applause to this cast. Brennan did amazing. I loved it. If you haven't already, please go ahead and like the video and subscribe, and check out my recaps of Campaign 3 on my channel. I post every Saturday, or my album Scorpio. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe out there. Good day, my friends.